Did you know that in parts of Africa, salt was once traded weight for weight with gold? Not because gold lacked value, but because salt meant life itself. If African history amazes you, the intelligence, the innovation, and the civilizations that shaped our world, subscribe. Because the story you're about to hear will change how you understand wealth, survival, and human ingenuity. Here's a question to consider. What truly makes something valuable? Is it beauty, rarity, power? Or is it the ability to sustain life, to keep a person alive in the harshest conditions? In medieval West Africa, this wasn't philosophy. It was survival. While many societies admired gold for its beauty, African empires understood a deeper truth. Gold could display wealth, but salt preserved life. Without salt, the human body weakens. Muscles fail, the mind clouds, the heart struggles. African societies knew this instinctively, through centuries of lived experience. Salt was medicine. Salt was survival. Salt was civilization itself. Now, imagine the Sahara 1,000 years ago. Endless dunes stretch to the horizon, shifting with the wind. Heat beats down mercilessly. Travelers must read the stars, the patterns of the sand, the winds, and even the smell of the desert to survive. A single mistake could mean death. Across this vast sea of sand, camel caravans moved like floating cities. Hundreds of camels, each loaded with salt or gold, guided by traders who had mastered one of the most dangerous landscapes on Earth. These were not aimless wanderers. They were explorers, scientists, and economists in their own right. They transformed a deadly desert into a highway of commerce, knowledge, and culture. Why was salt so precious? In a tropical land south of the Sahara, people lose salt constantly through sweat. Without it, the body slowly fails. Life ebbs away quietly but relentlessly. Salt wasn't just seasoning. Salt was medicine. Salt was essential to life. African societies understood this, and they built entire civilizations around that knowledge. Empires like Ghana, Mali, and Songhai rose on this understanding. These were sophisticated civilizations with advanced systems of trade, law, and governance. They didn't just stumble upon wealth. They engineered prosperity. In the far north, Taghaza was a city made entirely of salt. Walls of salt, buildings of salt, even mosques of salt. Miners carved massive blocks under brutal desert conditions, some weighing nearly 100 pounds. These blocks traveled hundreds of miles across the Sahara, feeding the southern kingdoms that valued them as highly as gold. Meanwhile, gold mines in Bambuk and Beret, in what is now Mali and Guinea, produced riches that would make empires elsewhere envious. African miners understood geology, rivers, and soil composition. They extracted gold with techniques that would not be surpassed for centuries. This was knowledge, skill, and innovation passed down through generations. Trade across thousands of miles could have been chaotic, but it wasn't. Arab scholar al-Bakri documented a fascinating method called the silent trade. Salt traders would leave their goods in a designated spot, withdraw, and wait. Gold traders would arrive, leave their gold, and retreat. If the offer was fair, the exchange happened. If not, they waited. No words, no fighting, just trust. This was African economic sophistication centuries before modern banking systems existed. Then there was Mansa Musa, Emperor of Mali. In 1324, he embarked on a legendary pilgrimage to Mecca. He brought so much gold that he temporarily disrupted the economy of Egypt. But Mansa Musa understood something his contemporaries did not. True wealth wasn't only in gold. It was in controlling both gold and salt, in understanding what people needed to survive, not just what they desired to possess. Salt and gold funded cities like Timbuktu, Gao, and Jin. These were not just trade hubs. They were centers of learning. Scholars studied medicine, astronomy, mathematics, law, and theology, supported by the wealth generated from these networks. Knowledge flourished because trade flourished. Trade thrived because knowledge guided it. Consider the human stories. A young girl in Timbuktu watching the caravan arrive, carrying precious salt from Taghaza. A miner in Bambuk sweating under the tropical sun. carefully washing gold dust from river sand. A merchant in the desert carefully weighing salt against gold nuggets on a simple scale, knowing that the survival of families, villages, and entire communities depended on his judgment. For nearly 1,000 years, this system connected the Mediterranean, North Africa, and West Africa. It built cities. It funded universities. It shaped cultures. African civilizations managed commerce, science, and survival in a way that continues to inspire awe today. Even when European explorers arrived centuries later, they encountered thriving empires, not primitive tribes. They found societies that had understood value, economics, and human needs far before these became global concerns. The story of salt and gold is not just about trade. It is about innovation, intelligence, and humanity. It shows that African civilizations measured worth differently, by survival, knowledge, and community, not only by glitter or prestige. So the next time you see gold or sprinkle salt on your food, remember the Sahara caravans, the miners, the scholars, the cities, the empires. Remember the civilizations that weighed life itself as equal to gold. Africa's story is not a footnote. It is a foundation. Follow and subscribe for more African history, innovation, and brilliance, because these stories deserve to live on.